Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. Got an interesting little project going on. This here is a gate, if you can't tell. That's the top rung of the gate that's blocking this driveway here. And I'm going to show y'all today how to put a cope in a piece of pipe, just a 9-degree T more or less in this pipe. Now this is a very tricky thing to do if you follow it by the book, but I'm going to show you a dirt simple way to cut this more or less double miter to fit this pipe. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to go ahead and say, which is fairly obvious, go ahead and level your pipe up here. As you can tell, I've got jack stand extenders on here. Now I don't recommend them because it makes the jack stands unstable, but if you've got something really light like this, it really does help. And for this project I really didn't need them, but I was going to show you kind of how they're made, so you know, in case you have a problem that you need more jack stand, you ain't got enough. So a little tip on that. But anyways, like I said, you can see I've got a level there and one's on the other end to level the pipe up, you know, level your jacks up and down, all that good stuff. So other than that, make sure everything is as plumb as it can be and braced off and whatever you need to do to get it straight. If you can tell here, I've got a homemade hinge right here. You probably noticed in my last video of how I kind of made it. Ain't nothing to it. But the first thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and mark your top. You need to know the top section of this because that's going to be critical for the rest of it. So they got a special tool for that, but you can just mark it out by eyeball with a center punch. Other than that, that's really all you need to do as far as the layout. So let's take a look at it. Okay, like I said before, we need to lay this out, so we need a center mark right on top of the pipe. Now you can just eyeball it, best you won't take a center punch and mark it. I've got a fancy tool for that. It's a pipe fitting tool that's got a center punch on the bottom end of it and it sits level on the pipe. You just take a hammer and hit it. It's got a little level on it so you can get it on the top side of the pipe. So there's level. A tiny little mark, but that's good enough for me. So from there, we'll lay out from that mark. Okay, all I've done is, from my center punch mark, which is right here, I've just extended a line to the front of the pipe. Now, take a square of some kind. This here's a speed square, but anything with a 45 leg on it, and come to the front of the pipe. And just kind of eyeball the best you can a 45 line. Okay, flip your square over and come back from the other side. So something about like this. There we go. Now, the next thing you need to know is what's the diameter of the pipe. From outside to outside, OD, it's roughly 2 inches. So you take your diameter and divide it by 2, which would be 1 inch. You come over here on the side, you mark 1 inch. Okay, you come over to the other side and you do the same. Okay, now that'll give you your 45 sweep back. So roughly just transfer a mark, something like that. Go to the other side. Okay, and those 2 lines will give you a pretty good estimation where to cut. Now you can do the same thing on the other side if you want marks all the way around, which is pretty easy to do. Just take your top line and drop it 180 degrees. That's pretty close. Turn it over. I want my level. Okay, my mark is right here. Take your square back out again, go another 45 on it. Okay. Do the same on the other side. there you go. There's your rough layout for that coat. Okay, pretty easy to do. Alright, we'll grab whatever form of cutting device you want, whether it be a grinder or a torch or whatever, and go to it. Okay, one thing I'm going to show is, you see how thick these walls are on here. So you're going to have to take a grinder in there and kind of feather them out so they're thinner. Because if you don't do this, it won't fit. So go in there with a grinder real quick and grind all these walls down a little bit. So let's take a look at that. I was going to show what it kind of looks like when you get done. If you can tell, it kind of looks like a fish mouth, like a largemouth bass. That's what most people call it out in the field, which is known as a fish mouth, but it's nothing but a pipe coat. And that's typically what they look like. Now, I spent about an extra 15 minutes off camera grinding. If you notice, I kind of rounded over the corners. You can leave the corners on it. Sometimes it's a little hard to fit, so it's better to round them over just a little bit. So I'm going to get it positioned and tacked up, and I'll show you what the fit looks like in just a second. But other than that, that's pretty much all there is to it. I would say that this is a lot easier on thin wall pipe. If you've got something that's really tiny wall, you don't have to dress the edges near as much as I did on this one. So the thicker the pipe, the harder it is going to be on you. So just take that into mind. So let's take a look at the fit. From a distance back here, it looks like a miter, but on closer inspection, there you go. It's not a bad fit all the way around, and you want a little gap in there for your penetration. I'm sorry my camera won't focus up close. I got a little happy right there. If you can see, it's a little bit of gap. That's not terrible. So there you go. I'm gonna put a root in with a 60-10 and then come back over with a 70-18. close of the weld here. It's not perfect. Got a little undercut on the right side over here. I got a little bit of porosity on the very bottom. Very common problem, but not too bad. Not bad at all, especially for some old metal. I was going to show other ways of mounting two pipes together. Now, if I were to miter this with a really, really low miter, it would be extremely difficult for me to get that fit just right. And then I wouldn't even be guaranteed if it would fit right. But you can take a piece of plate and mount it so that you've got a weld on the bottom here and a weld on the top, and they're both in the center of these two pieces right here. So it's still very strong, just a lot less work. So if you don't want to do all the miter cutting and fitting and fooling with it, then this is a really good option. But if you want all the miter cuts, then that's your business. Alright, let's see how good she works. Still showing fairly level out here on the end. That's what I'm talking about, smooth as silk. Yeah, it should be anything for that bed closure to close this. I'm leaving open up past 90, so that's good. Let's see how far it'll go. It'll hang its tree, so that's pretty good. Still, it picked up a little bit on its height, so I think something's wrong with their hinge, but shoot, I ain't gonna worry about it. That'll be fine. That's not bad though. That's 15 feet right there. Bam! I like it.